Two segments on SHAPE. The first segment is just about the program. The second segment is about who they might be cherry picking. So don't get into any coaches' names until the second segment.
All right.
And then you're supposed to just pretend that you're on the set. So just chime in, talk over people, act natural.
Oh, okay.
I won't necessarily be prompting you unless you disappear.
Are you going to say
All right.
anything about penalties today? Might
Couldn't hear you.
Okay.
All right. Are they going to call me back then?
Yes. Why don't
All
we?
right. So can I hang up and then you're going to call me back?
I don't know. I can't give you that permission.
Are these the talking points you were supposed to get hours ago? Boy, I hope I have my deadline.
Yeah.
He said he was going to email us talking points. Or something.
You can stay on, or they'll call you back in 5 minutes, Sal.
I think we're
Yeah. Why don't you call me back?
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Who was the reporter that asked the last question
Yeah.
that he got pissed
I think it was a young kid.
Yeah, I'll
way
bring him
around
back
for
in.
you.
I think it was a young kid from the DO, Daily Orange.
That was what I was going back to the SHAPE.
That didn't
Press
help him at
conference.
all.
No, the fact he totally
Stephen
dismissed
Bailey, right?
the conversation
Stephen, isn't it? Yeah.
with
Sorry.
Coyle.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that doesn't, undressing a young reporter doesn't,
Well,
it's not a good look.
Is it Stephen? Who was it? Stephen who? Is it
Devo's?
Yeah,
You did it?
Yeah.
This is my
Um,
Facebook page. What? One of the high school football people.
I lied to you. I never sent you an email.
See, I told you.
Expand the conversation too. But first segment, Robin's got a bunch of stuff to tee us up on. It's on him. Could he have done anything to save his job? Was this a done deal when Coyle came in? You know, what's Coyle going to do about this? You know, and where that goes. And then the second segment will be on the candidates.
Is Frost one of the guys you guys have?
Yeah, Frost is in there.
Did you get the list
money
off
is
Sarah?
Who's the 66-year-old guy?
What's that? Yeah, I got
That's
it.
interesting.
I looked at a couple.
No,
not gonna happen.
it's incredibly interesting. His name is Joe
Flo Mango.
M-O-G.
Yeah, Moglia. Maglia.
I would think. Okay. We have, I believe, coached for 20 years, 23
Left.
years. Left, became the CEO of Ameritrade.
Ameritrade.
TD Ameritrade.
Which,
Left that. He's been at Coastal Carolina and is 43 and 12 and 4 years back. But he's 66 years old.
Yeah.
you know, I was here at the Carry Dome. I don't know what it is. I don't know how lucrative it is. All I know is one of the sponsors I hear at the Carry Dome during basketball games is Ameritrade.
Oh, they're huge.
Yeah, they are.
Huge
So-
brokerage
I'm
firm.
sure he's a freaking billionaire.
Yeah.
He's the CEO. All right.
But he
What was
coached
the
for
Clemson
23
score?
years.
Just pie day. Pie operations during this? We could just do it in the background. Hey, I'll trade you an apple for a boysenberry.
Go to Harvey.
Dakota Harvey. Yep.
Well, can I give my opinion?
Yeah.
I think
Let me.
I think Aquinas won the final the other night. That's what I think. No offense to Saratoga.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, throw your opinion out there. Absolutely. We'll say they probably want to have you guys all talk to Dale.
Hi, Dale. It's Robin. Hello, Dale. Can you hear me? It's Robin.
Oh, Robin changed. She was wearing beige earlier.
No, I wasn't wearing beige earlier.
Who is that person?
That's Robin DeWin,
She's wearing beige pants.
hosts this show, and she hosts Sidelines.
22 in the country now, sir. They moved up a spot.
Everything on the board.
enjoyed just all Sunday not having to feel like I had to do anything. Sophie had a basketball tournament, so I could just focus on that. Did Denver win or lose?
They won.
Is that why what's his face
Good
is
week for the
starting again?
Bills.
Yeah.
Miami lose.
Very good.
There are
Other than
9 teams that are
KC.
either 4-6, 5-5, and I think
Yes.
And they got to turn around and face KC the next week, right? Next Sunday?
No?
They got your mic up, 'cause I just heard,
Oh,
I hear me coming back through.
well, where's my, which side is it on?
On that side.
That side?
You want on the other side?
No, that's okay, just turn, now I hear it,
Yeah, okay.
but I don't hear it now.
Yeah, no, I just hear you.
Okay, well, that's the important thing.
I'm just saying I think we'd be having a different discussion right now. I don't think this would have happened right now.
It shouldn't have happened right now. That's the one thing.
That's what I'm going to bring up. I'm going to start with the timing of it.
Why did it?
Right, that's what I'm going to ask you. To me, either it was a national reporter that broke it, somebody got a whiff of somebody they're potentially talking to, or somebody internally wanted it out. Not the university, because it doesn't make the university look good.
No.
It's just so awkward.
That's what I'm going to bring. The timing of this
Well, here's
is
the other
pretty
thing.
awkward.
The assistants are all gone too. So there's a very good chance that one of the assistants got
Right,
wind
somebody's
of it
fighting for their job.
and basically made a call to somebody to say, hey, I'm available next year if you need somebody, you know,
To
because
me,
they all need jobs
He
too.
looked. He
covering.
looked like a guy that knew.
Oh, you should see. We see him every Syracuse sidelines day, and his demeanor has just completely changed. Less eye contact, less personal. Like he would come up and ask me how my mom.
Based
you know,
on
he's-
that, so you should say that. I don't,
Yeah.
Can you say that? Because I would say it's based on what you're telling me and what I'm seeing. He may have known. Look at, here's a number you have to hit.
Hi, Sal. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
If you don't hit this number for wins, we're gonna make a change.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I
maybe
mean,
that's
he
what he.
looks like a dead man walking.
He can't. He couldn't manage a football game.
I didn't watch
Bad-
last week. I watched.
The thing isn't in, like the connector.
Here, you want to put that one up?
Now I got you. Yep.
In Clemson.
Okay.
Hi, Dale. It's Robin.
Hey. Hello.
How are ya? Tell that
Very
man.
well, thank you.
Tell that man fumbling with your earpiece, Joe, that Robin says hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're in and out
thanks.
again, Joe. Joe, in and out.
Hey,
We are following breaking news on Thruway Sports Talk. Syracuse is looking for their next head coach. Scott Schaefer was fired Monday morning after an 8th straight loss on Saturday. Athletic Director Mark Coyle sent out this statement. I want to thank Scott, his wife Missy, and their family for their 7 years of dedication and service to SU Athletics and Syracuse University. Scott has worked tirelessly to educate our students on and off the field and to build our program. However, I feel a change in leadership is needed at this time. A national search will begin immediately. And welcome to Thruway Sports Talk. I'm your host, Robin Duin. I'm joined by Carl Falk and Jeff DeVeronica with the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. And on the phone is Sale from Foxborough covering the Bills for us. And the big news, obviously, Scott Schaefer, he's still going to coach the final game on Saturday, Senior Day. This is awkward, though. The timing of this is just not right. Something obviously misconnected, because I can't believe the university wanted it this way.
It's like breaking up with your girl and then you got to go to the prom in a few days.
And you still live in the same house with her. One of you has to leave. No, it is strange, and I can't think that the university or Scott Schaefer or Mark Coyle wanted this out there, but it did get out there. The news came down today. It's a testament to Scott Schaefer, in my opinion, that he is going to follow through and coach on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Because that can't feel good. Going to a job you don't have come Monday, but yeah, you got to give your all.
But I think it speaks to his character, and he's a character guy. And he's auditioning now for his next job, whatever it is. And the way he conducts himself on Saturday, on the field, in the interviews, all that will go toward his. And he'll find a job. I think he's a good
Very
coach.
capable coach.
Head
Very
coach,
good
the jury's still
coordinator.
out.
Sal, I'm curious, what do you think about the timing of this and the fact that it came from a reporter from Sports Illustrated? This wasn't, local. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, it is unusual that they would announce this thing with one game to go. What's the difference? You've got 1 week left. Let it play out. It's typical national media, though. These guys start talking to agents and whatever else, and these things happen. So it's unfortunate, I think, but I also think that Schaefer's a professional, and I think he's going to, he'll hold his head high and go out there and do the best he can. So that isn't going to be an issue at all. But you're right, the timing is very unfortunate, and I'm sure it's going to be a difficult situation, not only for Schaefer, but the whole coaching staff on Saturday.
And yet, though, I think it might be a good kind of a thank you. I mean, I think the diehard fans will thank the guy
him.
for trying.
Yes.
I mean, no one can fault the guy's work ethic. The guy worked his tail off. It just wasn't up to the job. And I don't know if we're having this conversation if they had pulled off one of the big upsets against LSU or Clemson.
You can't go with ifs because ifs don't matter. There are no moral victories. This is big business. You looked at Scott Schaefer's salary today, $1.3 million. So you can't look back at something and say, if we did this, if we did that. Scott Schaefer's not going to be the head coach of Syracuse next year because he didn't recruit very well and he didn't coach well when the game was going on. Sal, I know you, like me, were amazed at some of those coaching decisions that he made down the stretch in games.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of their games this year, and it baffles me sometimes. I just don't think he was ever really the right fit to be a head coach. I think this guy is a good defensive coach. There's no doubt about that. That's why Doug Marrone brought him here in the first place. And I just think the circumstances of Marrone up and leaving the way he did kind of caught Syracuse off guard, and they didn't have a whole lot of a choice as to what to do with head coach. And they promoted Scott Schaefer. And again, I just was never really in the mindset that this guy was the right man to lead this program as the head coach. I think he's very good as a defensive coordinator. I think that's probably what his future is going to be. But Syracuse has to do better than this at head coach. Absolutely. You cannot lose 8 games in a row in Division I football and keep your job. So they've got to move on, and they've got to find a guy who's better, guys. And I'm sorry, Scott Schaefer was not the right man for the job, but they've got to go out and find someone who is.
If they got 6 wins, if they got to a bowl, would he have gotten the last year of his contract?
I think there was a number he knew he needed to hit.
Yeah, his demeanor sort of
Deteriorated?
Well, no, it did. Well, it did. We go up there and shoot a show on Wednesdays, and he did become a little quieter. You wonder if he was kind of given the orders that if this doesn't happen, this will happen. I don't know. It's hard to say.
He had to be given the orders in that you've got a new boss in town.
Yeah.
Mark Coyle comes in. He came in to fix the football program. Let's face it. His resume from Boise State was a football
and to clean up the whole
resume.
Thing.
And yes, to
and
get
we're in
beyond
the
the
ACC because of
sanctions.
football.
But again, they are in the ACC because of football. Absolutely right, Robin. The Big East is no longer because there's so much money in college football that Syracuse and Pitt and others decided to go that route. Syracuse is now a bottom feeder in that conference.
Now, hang on a second. This guy's quarterback this year
that he let get hurt in a meaningless game at garbage time. Carry on.
Oh,
Wow, that's-
come on. He got.
I don't think he
You're right.
let
So
him
Tom
get
He
Brady
should
never
not have
played-
been in that
Tom
game.
Brady never
He
plays
probably
in
should-
garbage.
Should
He probably
not
shouldn't
have been in
been,
that
but
game. They're down
He has a history
41
of-
to 10 with 3.5 minutes to go. You've got a quarterback who's battled
What
head
week was
injuries.
that? What week was that?
Week 7. It was Louisville.
Okay.
So why is he in the game at that point? There's no reason for Eric Dungy to be in that game. Coming off
I'm
2.
talking about Hunt. Terrell Hunt.
Okay, that's
were
different.
He was the
I was
starter.
talking about Dungy.
He's the starter to start the year.
Okay.
I mean, so if Terrell Hunt plays this year, maybe we're not. I mean, in his defense, he didn't have a quarterback that was ready to do this job.
I think Eric Dungy's the best quarterback they've had since Nassib.
Sal, they're fighting. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love
Referee
to jump
Sal.
in there and brawl. I'd love to
jump
jump
in.
in there and fight with him. Look, this guy was given a horrendous deck of cards at quarterback. We all know that. However, it all does come back to recruiting. I mean, they went out and recruited some of these kids. I'm not sure that any of these guys are true Division I level quarterbacks. So even though they had a spate of injuries and had to go through all these guys, and that's a really tough, like I said, a really tough deck for Scott Schaefer to have to handle. This program has to do better in talent evaluation and recruiting. This is why they're in the hole they're in. They don't get players who are good enough, and that was partly on Scott Schaefer. But again, yes, the quarterback situation was a travesty because of injuries, but it goes back further than that to they got to get kids in here who can believe in Syracuse and lead this program forward. Right now, the kids they've had at quarterback for the last 10 or 12 years just have not been up to that.
So basically, a new coach coming in who's potentially could be making even more, be higher profile. What's he going to think of an Eric Dungy? Is that going to be enough to lure a coach to a program?
Oh, I think Dungy showed some promise, but the injuries are a concern. This kid has gotten hurt numerous times, a couple concussions. Now that's a problem. Mahoney, he's been fun to watch, I guess, but he certainly isn't the guy who's going to lead them out of the promised land. They've got to get a coach in here, and they've got to get a quarterback in here. It's like that in all of football. We know this at every level of football. Coach, quarterback. Syracuse hasn't had either one of those things, certainly in the Scott Schaefer area, and I would even argue that in the Doug Marrone era. I'm not sure that Doug Marrone, we've seen what Doug Marrone has gone on to do. He was a decent coach, but Syracuse needs to do better. They need a named guy to come in and turn this mess around, because ever since Pasqualoni left, they've been on a fast track to the abyss.
So I'm gonna disagree with one part. I think Ryan Nassib, who's now in the NFL back up for the Giants, I think he was a pretty good quarterback. I'm not sure that he was recruited to be a very good quarterback, but by the end of his career at SU, he became a very good quarterback.
Well, I think you could say Nassib was a decent quarterback for Syracuse. Could he have played at many top-level Division I schools? No. They were mediocre. They had 2 appearances in the mediocre at best Pinstripe Bowl. I think Syracuse has to do better than Ryan Nassib and Scott Schaefer.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion on the Syracuse job, and we'll talk about some of the possible replacements for Schaefer. That's next. It's Robin.
Oh, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Jeff
Not a problem.
I've seen your name many times. I get to see you in person or in your face when you're on the TV. How are you?
Well, I apologize in advance.
Hey, James, it's Carl Falk. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay, let's make sure I got this right.
Sure, how y'all doing out there in Rochester?
We had our first bit of snow this morning. It's all gone all by now though, so we're pretty. I'm psyched about that at least.
It's a Garden of Eden here in Syracuse. The sun was out. It's the garden spot of New York
Garden of
State.
I'm here in the Garden of Eden. Yes.
Yeah.
How's the water? Good? Good water?
It's pretty funny we were arguing about.
Recapping our breaking news, Syracuse head football. Sal, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Recapping our breaking news, Syracuse head football coach Scott Shafer fired Monday morning. A lot of activity on social media. A number of Shafer's former players took to social media today to talk about the firing. Mackie McPherson said, sad to hear about Coach Shafer, great man and motivator. Wish him and his family nothing but the best. And former running back Jerome Smith sent out this on Twitter. Sad hearing about Coach Shafer, but he'll be fine. Great coach, even better man. Control the controllables. Thanks. Okay, welcome back, and we will continue our discussion on the breaking news out of Syracuse. Let's talk about coaching candidates at Syracuse. Randy Edsall, fired by Maryland earlier this season. He played at Syracuse, but you don't want that.
I don't think they're going to – Mark Coyle's not going to want anything that is Syracuse past.
Why? The fans love it.
It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
Okay.
What they've had in the last –
Doug Marrone worked.
Did it?
For 4 years, he got him to 2 bowl games, rebuilt the program.
If that's
to
the
somewhat,
ceiling?
No, that's not the ceiling, but it was trending in the right direction.
Yeah, he ended it. It wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say if I think I'm Mark Coyle, I want to put this stamp on this is my program now. He's not going to go with Randy Edsall. That's just my take.
I got to point out one thing. When we went through this a decade or so ago, after Coach P left, Darryl Gross made a big move and brought in Greg Robinson, his guy, Southern Cal assistant D coordinator. It was beyond a terrible call to hire him.
And it still has repercussions.
Still has repercussions. The guy this time has to be the right guy. Has to be. This cannot be a miss. This is Mark Coyle's first big move at Syracuse, and you're right. This is his signature move. Mm-hmm. It's got to be the right guy.
Sal, who do you like? What do you think they should do?
Oh, Les Miles, absolutely.
Well, that's it.
That's
Why
the first
not?
guy I'd call. If he ends up getting fired the way rumors are today, that's going to happen either soon or after the season, that's the first call I make. He's the best coach that's going to be available right now. I also think there's probably going to be other guys who get fired from big-name programs. Who knows what Charlie Strong's future is at Texas? So that's been a disaster. But that guy's a good football coach, probably just in a bad situation there. So I think Mark Coyle has to be patient. Certainly don't jump on things quickly. This should be a process where they go through and vet a lot of candidates, but I would certainly shoot for the moon because, hey, why not? If Les Miles said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to come there and make Syracuse a football program again, a power, hey, all for it. Pay him whatever he wants. They're paying Boeheim a boatload of money. Go ahead and pay the football coach a boatload of money to turn this thing around.
So it's a high-profile coach you think is what's going to matter. It'll help with recruiting. It will change this program.
Look, I think it's similar to like the Buffalo Bills in the free agent market, right? It's kind of the same situation. Yeah. You have to overpay to get guys to come to Buffalo. Maybe that's starting to change now with Rex Ryan. We saw it in the offseason. They brought some top-paying guys in here. I'm not sure that they would have come to play for Doug Marrone, but they came to play for Rex Ryan. This could be the same thing in Syracuse. You bring a top-notch guy in, he might be able to recruit players to Syracuse, New York.
It's a relevancy issue, too. I think Syracuse kind of fell into that same category that Buffalo did, that it was like an afterthought.
I think if you get a big-name coach, then the recruits come immediately. Yeah. The other way around is if you go with a hot young guy who's unproven, the winning has to happen first, and then the recruits come. So he still might have to pull some rabbits out of the hat, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
There are 13 Division I head coaching jobs right now open.
And there will be several more by the end of the year, and that's where it becomes an issue. And to Sal's point, he's absolutely right. Les Miles would be the best candidate available. But Sal, I'm sorry, there's no way SU's going to pony up $5-6 million a year to hire Les Miles. I'd love it if they do. If you look at the way they've paid coaches, Shafer this year got $1.3 million, which we look at, that's a lot of money. It ranked very middle of the pack as far as D1 football coaches go. And it's surprising because a guy like Nick Saban makes $7 million, but yet Yeah, a guy like Brian Kelly at Notre Dame only makes 1.3, similar to Schaefer. So it's all over the board. I just can't see the Board of Trustees setting up a situation where they're going to pay somebody $4 or $5 million a year to come
Yeah,
in.
and you're probably right, Kyle. But you know what? They make money hand over fist at Syracuse. You can't tell me that money is a complete problem there. I think you go out and get the right guy, and if your football program turns around, you're in the ACC now. This isn't the Big East. You pay Scott Schaefer $1.3 million to coach in the Big East or some other dumb conference. This is the ACC. This is a good football conference now. The number one team in the country plays in this conference. You can spend the money to get a good coach right now because you're in that conference and you're playing against schools that are pretty good in football. They got to do this.
What about going the route of the coordinators? Scott Frost at Oregon, Mike Stanford at Notre Dame, Dave Warner at Michigan State.
I like that. I think Stanford has a connection with Coyle, and I think Frost is one of those hot young guys that's going to be high on a lot of people's radar. I like that move rather than bringing in a retread from the past
I think they're much more likely to go young and to get a new sense of energy. Mark Coyle's a younger AD. I think they will go that way. Economically, it makes more sense. But to Sal's point about the ACC, if you look at Syracuse's schedule this year and they won all their games, they would be in the Final Four. That is a championship caliber schedule they now play because of the ACC. So if they did bring a guy in, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Obviously, winning the games would be.
Lane Kiffin?
Lane Kiffin's a possibility. A guy like Lane Kiffin, Muschamp, former big name
Didn't he use up his
guys
lives
who
yet?
flamed out, who now are trying to rebuild as coordinators, they're possibilities.
That's a good point, Carl. Those guys are. They're basically disgraced former head coaches that are trying to rehabilitate themselves. Why not take on Syracuse? If you turn Syracuse around, you become a hero. Maybe you don't stay here for 15 years and you go on to the next place, but that would be a heck of a challenge for one of those guys to come to Syracuse and turn this thing around. I think that's a good point.
Okay, as we wrap things up, we want to thank Sal. And Sal, you can't see it, but the picture of you that they're using is fantastic, and you look friendly and happy. So
You've never looked that
We're
we're
happy
just going
in
to
your
put it
life.
on you when you sit here when you come back.
There is no such picture in existence.
Oh, wait till you see the rebroadcast. Okay, thanks, Sal.
All right, guys.
Coming up, we're going to be talking about state football high school championships. 10 teams will be playing for titles over the weekend, live on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. We'll preview them next.
There we go. There we go. I'm fine.
Hi, James. How are you? It's Robin. Hi, Dale.
Hey.
Hi, Robin.
James Dale, it's Carl. How are you?
Good, Carl.
Good.
Hey, fellas, Jeff D. Veronica, how are you?
Good, Jeff.
Good.
I can barely hear him in my ear.
Is your volume down, or
I don't know.
Could you
there's
hear
a
Sal
volume?
well?
I heard Sal fine, yeah.
Jeff's having some
You didn't hear
on?
me? Am I not talking loud enough?
No,
There we
you're
go.
good for us. We're just.
Yep.
Is it better?
I don't, talk, guys. Dale or James, talk. Can you talk? Oh. Well, that can't be affecting my audio, though, can it? I'm having some time hearing them.
Are they hearing me all right, Patrick?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
now
you.
we got it.
We
now,
got you.
now we're good. Thanks.
Okay.
High snap. snap, brings it down, kick is up, kick is no good. No good! He missed it! Pulled it to the right. Saratoga is going to move on to the state championship game.
It's that time of year, state high school football championship time. 10 teams will head to the Carrier Dome this weekend to play for titles in 5 different classes, and we will have every one of those games live for you right here on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel beginning Friday. And it's time to talk about those games, and we want to welcome in 2 of our Time Warner Cable Sports Channel high school football analysts. Dry Polcher joins us from our studio in Syracuse, and James Allen is in our studio in Albany. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robin.
All right, we're going to start with the AA championship. The state's top-ranked team, Aquinas, takes on Saratoga Springs. And Dale, for Aquinas, it all starts with that quarterback, Jake Zembeck.
Yeah, when you have a quarterback like Zembeck, he's tall, he looks like a quarterback, looks like he should be in the NFL. He throws like it sometimes. He had a little rough outing against Liverpool, but they put a lot of pressure on him. But he's an excellent athlete. When he had to come through, he did. There's a great look at this pass right here. Really showed his mettle, and he's got a great receiver. You got the quarterback going to Penn State, and one of those receivers going to Notre Dame. You know, you've got a pretty good duo there. So I think Aquinas would have to be the favorite. But they did get a scare from Liverpool, and they thought that was probably good for them because they still got work to do. But I thought they're an excellent team, a great representative from Section 5, and Zembeck is probably one of the best quarterbacks I've seen in a long time.
Hey, James, Aquinas' defense also full of playmakers. Tell us about Dakota Harvey from Saratoga Springs. What do the little Irish have to do to slow him down?
Well, he's an interesting guy because, he's 240 pounds, and you think power back right away, but he's got some speed, and I think that you look at the last couple of games he played. He had a 75-yard run against Shaker in the Section 2 championship game, and then he had a 76-yard run against New Rochelle that you're seeing right now, and he accelerated away from their backfield. Their defensive backs are also the receivers and running backs, and I think that surprised them. He's a power speed guy. He's really the guy. He's the bell cow for their offense, and as he goes, so they go.
Hey, Dale, South Park out of Buffalo. They came off a huge upset.
Carl, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Class A matchup first between Our Lady of Lourdes and South Park. James, tell us a little about Lourdes quarterback Dean Roger.
Oh, I was really impressed with him, Robin. I mean, this is a young man that definitely can throw the ball down the field vertically, but his touch and the intermediate routes, the short stuff, very, very good. He was precise in the semifinal win against Amsterdam. When you have 26 touchdown passes, I don't care what level of football you're playing in high school, that says a lot about the young man, and he's a true leader for them. He's going to be the focal point of what they're going to do if they're going to win that championship against South Park.
Dale, now we're going to talk about South Park. They came off a huge upset over Maine Endwell, and Tyree Brown looked great in that game. Tell me about him.
You know what? Tyree Brown is a terrific quarterback, and they got a lot of Tyree Browns. They got athletes all over the field. I mean, he really throws a nice ball, but you know what? He plays defense. This team is loaded with people. And one of the things they did against Maine Endwell, as you're going to get a look at them here, is not only did they play so well on offense, but they returned 2 fumbles for touchdowns. So they are really an opportunistic team, and Tyree Brown, just a fantastic athlete. And as I said, they got a lot of Tyree Browns playing football for them. I was very impressed with that team, and their first time in the playoffs, and they were very excited. I think they got a real good edge going into the finals.
Okay, now to the Class B title game. It's Cazenovia and Schuylerville, and Dale, Caz quarterback Dale Schaffner, he put on quite a show in the semifinal.
Well, you know, he's a big kid. Yeah, he threw for 3 touchdowns. He ran for 3. He's the kind of kid that really drives the team. The thing that's amazing about them is they lost one of their quarterbacks. Schaffner came in and took over, and you can see he's got good, quick feet. He's got a strong arm, and again, sort of like South Park, they got a lot of athletes all over. They had 3 or 4 different guys play quarterback, and they also play receiver. So this is a dynamic team with a lot of athletes, and Schaffner, he's the guy that pulls the trigger, but he's got a lot of help with his teammates too.
Hey, James, Schuylerville, Will Griffin is the quarterback. Can they get this thing done if he doesn't have a great game?
Well, they're going to need him, and here's the thing about Schuylerville, everybody, that they don't throw the ball. I mean, he's only attempted 41 passes all year long. This is a flexbone offense. He's the facilitator, though, and 3,000-yard rushing seasons for a quarterback is a pretty rare feat, and he's done it. And really, when you think about their offense, it's all about the running game. In the semifinals, they attempted one pass. So it comes down to, can Casanova get them into second and long, third and long situations, force them out of their comfort zone. If they do that, Casanova is going to win the state championship. But if Schuylerville wins, Will Griffin's going to have a lot to do with it.
Hey, Dale, back to you. This is a great experience for these kids to be able to play in the Dome. A million years ago, I was able to do that as a high school football player, so I know what it's like running out of that tunnel. Give me a little thing that you hear from these kids over and over again about what it's like for them.
Well, I coached a year that we went into the Dome. I coached at Henniger High School a number of years ago. And there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of, you go to New York City for the first time and you're from the country and you look up and say, wow. But a lot of these teams have been there before and they had experiences, but every one of them really thinks that's the key for the season. Let's get to the Dome. Let's get back to the Dome. I think it's a real rallying cry for most of the teams I know in Section 3 and Section 4, and I'm sure it is downstate too, but it's a big deal. It's a big experience, and the kids seem to really love it.
Hey, James, we're sitting here in Rochester, New York, home of Aquinas. That's the team number 22 now in USA Today national rankings as of today. Defending champs 2 years ago, now coming back. But it's Albany, Section 2, that has 3 teams alive in the state championship round. Does Albany have the best high school football this year?
I don't know about I will go that far, but I will say that it's been a nice little run here the last 4 years. You think about in 2012, we had Hoosick Falls and Burn Hills win state championships. Queensbury won it in 2013. We had 2 teams get there last year, and then we have 3 teams that are getting there this year. It really says a lot about the section overall and the strength of it. When you think about these 3 teams that are representing Section 2 this year, none of them have ever been this far. So it tells you that the overall strength of the section has been pretty strong here in the last 4 to 5 years, and it's been a nice little run for our area.
Okay, Dale and James, thanks so much for talking high school football with us, and we appreciate you being here.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go back to Aquinas a little bit. Incredible run this Jake Zembick has had. I remember interviewing him in the 6th grade. He was featured in an article for Sports Illustrated. Kid's the real deal.
He is. He's going to Penn State, and he can play. He might be able to play right as a freshman if their quarterback leaves. I think this is a team with a big chip on the shoulder. They can say the pressure's off now a little bit that they won the Section 5 championship after being kicked out last year for ineligibility. But and I think they've survived some shaky performances. They were a little banged up to start the postseason. They're healthy now, and I think Aquinas is going to – I think they may have played the final this past weekend.
Okay, and don't forget, we'll have every one of the championship games live this weekend on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel across the state. It's a triple header on Friday, starting with Class D at noon, Class A at 3 o'clock, and the Class C final at 6. Then it's Sunday, it's the Class B championship at noon, and we finish it off with a double A title game at 3 o'clock. All games can be seen on Channel 323. That'll do it for another evening of Three-Way Sports Talk. For Jeff, Carl, I'm Robin. Thanks for joining us. Good night.